Welcome to the Nutrigenomic Nation podcast with Brian Highfield, certified nutritionist, author, speaker, and founder of multiple successful companies in the health world. Brian is known for educating healthcare professionals and others on improving their health and their life through breakthroughs in nutrition, technology, and biochemistry. On the podcast, Brian interviews thought leaders in the world of nutrition and natural health. He and his guests share the secrets of a whole life natural approach to health and the life-altering results you can get by making easy changes to your diet and daily routine.
Well, welcome to another episode of Nutrigenomic Nation, where we talk about different aspects of your health. And we've got a great guest today. We have Darryl Edwards with us. He's a former investment banking technologist, and he turned to a movement coach and author. He is the founder of the Primal Play Method and is a physical activity, health, and play researcher. So welcome to the program, Darryl.
Thank you very much. That's a great introduction, Brian. And I sound very impressive. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I'm certainly impressed with everything I read about your bio. Now, what's the question on everyone's mind, first off, is how do you go from investment banking to being a physical activity expert and researcher?
You learn to adjust to making less money. That's the first. You learn to downsize. you reset your expectations, and you, most importantly and quite seriously, is following your passions. So my first career was about me following my passion. I was interested in technology before I was 10 years old, experimenting with the first home computers back in the 70s. And that's all I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do computer science even before I knew that was what that meant. And I worked for software companies in the early 90s, worked for Microsoft, did software development in technology, and then I got headhunted to work in banking. And that's where there was so much money in banking back then. Well, it still is, but there wasn't much money in technology, strangely enough. So I actually left Microsoft thinking you're just not paying me enough. Went into finance, and then my work-life balance completely flipped. It was pretty much every hour available in front of a computer screen, and suffering, the health consequences after sort of almost 20 years in that world. Mm-hmm. Thinking, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And how can I get out?
So you follow a passion now deals with physical activity, health, and wellness in general. So tell us about that journey and all the research that you've been able to do and just that path into health and wellness.
Yeah, so I was fortunate to have an annual health check with my previous employer, and I was told you're pre-diabetic, very close to type 2 diabetes. You have a high risk of cardiovascular disease, meaning heart attack or stroke within the next 5 to 10 years. I was dealing with high blood pressure, very high, elevated hypertension. And I was also dealing with chronic low back pain and knee issues. So for somebody in my mid-30s, didn't feel full of life and vigor at all. And I didn't want to take the medication, pretty much. So it's like, you need to take statins, you need to take beta blockers, you need to take metformin. These will help you manage these conditions. How long for? Rest of your life. Okay, I'm a bit concerned about that. What are the side effects? Numerous, but we'll manage those if you suffer unbearably with those. And I remember knowing that physical activity could help with blood pressure. That's all I knew at the time. And I was like, let me at least try to manage my blood pressure. And I got a dispensation from my doctor to do that. And within 30 days, my blood pressure started to come down. I joined the gym, blood pressure started coming down. But even more remarkably, the other health markers that I was told were irreversible, down to genetics, down to you getting older, down to your stressful job, they started to reverse as well. So I was no longer pre-diabetic. I was no longer dealing with hypertension. I was no longer having a poor lipid or, kind of cholesterol profile. And exercise was the gateway to better health. So I was like, wow, I found this medicine. I found this magic pill. I need to find out more about this. And fortunately, my doctor considered that I may be an anomaly. Why are you having such an advantageous response to physical activity? What else are you doing? Are you taking other medication? Like, no. Okay, I will do some research as your doctor. And I was like, please let me see some of that research. I want to understand. I only understand bits and bytes from from computers. I want to know a little bit more about the human body. So I stayed within computing for several years, but the passion waned. I started offering advice to people who wanted to do what I was doing, but I recognized that I needed to get some qualifications. I needed to cross-train. I needed to get mentored. I needed to study. And so that's what I did. So I studied thinking that I would create a system of movement for the elite. So I imagined I'd create a box with ex-investment bankers to attend, small membership, high membership fees, and I would do really well for myself. And what transpired was I started to hate the process of exercise. I didn't enjoy the process. And I started having clients who would be turning up late, watching the clock 10 minutes into the session. And I'm like, we've got an hour to go. Like, and we basically were both bored. My clients and I were bored of the process. And I'm like, this isn't good for me as a coach, and this isn't great for my clients. What else can I do to make this enjoyable? So that's when I considered my light bulb moment of, when was the last time you really enjoyed movement, Daryl? And it was when I was a kid. And it wasn't when I was a kid doing PE lessons at school. It was a kid out with my friends, long summer days, playing, I think in America you call it pickup games of, a basketball and football, just having lots of fun, climbing trees, playing tag, building dens and forts, exploring the world around you. And I wondered if I could recreate some of that as an adult, not in a patronizing sense, but in an adult friendly version, embracing your inner child and thinking, well, what can I do that's going to be a lot of fun, but still give me all of the health benefits that I want from physical activity. Now, so that was the beginning of the journey.
Yeah. Did that inspire? I mean, you did a TED Talk, and your TED Talk almost has, it's coming close to 1 million views now. And it's called Why Working Out Isn't Working Out. And is that the inspiration for that TED Talk?
Pretty much. I mean, I just wondered why, even though I knew exercise was good for me, even though I had a personal experience of transformation through physical activity, why didn't I want to continue to do it? Why wasn't I motivated to do it every single day, even though it was so amazing? I always felt better after doing it, but why didn't I feel good during it? So that was the puzzle I wanted to solve. And the Primal play method came about by me recognizing that it wasn't just about play or play psychology, which is certainly important, great for motivation, great for joy and pleasure, great for social interaction and engagement. But I wanted to have an underpinning of science elsewhere. So evolutionary biology was one of those science disciplines. And this is really talking about, how humans evolved to move, in what environments, what capabilities, what was our physical function, and then using exercise physiology, which is basically 21st century understanding as to why exercise is beneficial. How does it affect our organs? Why does exercise help to lower blood pressure? Why can it help with heart health? Why can it help with cognitive function, brain performance? Why can it reduce the risk of Alzheimer's and dementia? So I'm kind of like, I'm really curious again. This is like me being a kid. Instead of me being curious about cutting code, I'm now curious about the inner workings of the human body and getting people inspired to move. Because even if you understand all of the benefits, it doesn't mean you're going to move more just because of that, right? So I was like, I need something that's going to motivate people, i.e. play. I need something which helps me understand how powerful human beings are when it comes to movement. So that's really our heritage, our ancestry. What are we capable of? Who are we inspired by when it comes to movement? And then finally thinking, I want to be doing this for health and longevity. And there's a bonus if I can prevent disease, if I can push disease as far away into the future as possible, chronic disease, that's a good place to be. So it's a pretty big mission,
Yeah.
but that's how the Primal Play method was founded. And that's why I call it a method, because there's some scientific rigor around establishing what's beneficial. I don't want to just have fun for the sake of it. Otherwise, I could just spend time blowing up balloons and popping them, or rolling down the hill and saying, "Hey, I had a fun time." But those activities in themselves, even though they're fun, they're not making me fitter and stronger and healthier in a kind of a whole 360 degrees sense.
For sure. And I read from your website, and this is certainly true, that we really are living in an epidemic of obesity and chronic lifestyle diseases out there. And so how can the Primal Play method, how can it help with that?
Well, it hopefully encourages you to sit less. So we do have a pandemic of physical inactivity, of sedentary behavior. And it can sound quite melodramatic, or almost blaming people and saying, "Oh, we're just all too lazy, and just get off your backsides and move more." But actually, if you start understanding again our evolution, our DNA is constantly telling us to conserve energy, because you don't know where your next meal is coming from. That's what your cells don't know. You may know cerebrally, but it's just in the fridge. Right? That's where my next meal is. Or it's a click of a mouse away. That's where my next meal is. But your body isn't certain. So your body's telling you, "Hey, sit down, relax, take it easy. Everything is fine. You don't really have to move, because you're in a safe environment. Everything is good." And we decide to choose the convenient option. We have technology which helps us. We have labor-saving devices that help us. Many of us are now working from home, so we don't feel that uncomfortable living a sedentary lifestyle. And this isn't really all of our fault. It's the environment around us which encourages us to be sedentary. So the solutions really are to sit less, to find activities that you enjoy and can sustain, and find activities that are the most beneficial for you as a human being. But I think that's really, really key. It's a bit like, for example, if you own a dog, right? If you own a dog, you know that taking a dog for a walk is pretty much mandatory. They need to walk significant distances. But you wouldn't just say walking is enough for your dog. They also need to run. They need to chase, right? They need to be chased as well. They may need to jump. They may need to climb. There's a richness of activities that dogs will engage in. And similar with a cat, right? You wouldn't think of putting a cat on a leash and going, "I'm just going to take my cat for a walk today to give them their exercise." Again, they want to chase. They want to climb. They want to jump. They want to crawl. They want to explore. So I see human movement patterns in the same way. Be curious, explore what you can do, explore the world around you. And then incredibly, you open yourself up to, "Oh my gosh, there's all these things I can do now that I didn't realize I could still do at my age." For example, I'm in my 50s now, and a few weeks ago, I was like, it's been a while since I climbed a tree. I wonder if I can still do it. There's a tree, I'm going to give it a go. I climbed up this tree, and I was sitting watching the world around me. I was reading a book, and there were people looking up going, "What's that guy? What's he doing in the tree?" But incredibly, a lot of people would ask me, "Did you climb the tree? Like, how did you get up there? Like, I wish I could do that." Kids were saying, "Hey, Mom, Dad, can we climb trees? Can you do that?" So it's interesting. Rather than people feeling that I'd lost a few marbles, they recognized there was something freeing about this activity that was playful, that was reminiscent of my childhood, and strangely makes you feel really youthful. So even though you're struggling, I was struggling, I'm thinking to myself, I'm sure if I was 15, this would be a lot easier to do. But going through this process, you just feel so full of life and vitality, and you're so mindful, you're so in the moment, you're so concerned about being careful and about being safe, but also where you're taking risks. and thinking, don't go too high because how am I going to, I need to be able to get back down and get back down safely. But those aspects of having a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset also transfers to other aspects of your life, actually. So you become more creative, you want to experience more things, you become more adventurous. So this first step or foray into active play, has made me a much more open individual. I'm much more willing to engage with people who probably don't have the same opinion as I, because I think I'm more able to see alternative viewpoints and to see alternative paths and to just be, I don't know, just be more childlike and willing to take on board information and hopefully determine and decipher what you feel is relevant for you, rather than going, I know it all.
And that's something, I've struggled with that myself, and I'm sure a lot of people do, that we get set in our ways and we're used to a routine and we don't try new things. I mean, my wife and I just went kayaking recently and it was a beautiful experience. I haven't done it in a long time, and using muscles that I'm not used to using, experiencing things I'm not used to experiencing. And it was just a wonderful experience. And I think you're right. It does open your mind to trying new things like that.
Yeah. And there are benefits to this. So your brain benefits physically. There are, you create new brain cells. There's neurogenesis, which is the creation of new neurons. Synapses fire, new neural pathways are created. You're challenged by this. And there's something called neuroplasticity, which is basically this growth of the brain as you are encountering new experiences, and your brain is adapting to those challenges to hopefully make it easier. So this adaptation, which is not just physical, but cognitive, mental, emotional, psychological, all of these adaptations make us more resilient, make us more robust, improve our physical function, improve our cognitive function, improve our ability to engage with others as social beings. There are all of these benefits that come out of play, which mean many of us should prioritize or reprioritize play, not as an afterthought, not as something that we do when we've got nothing else to do, but actually it's an important part of our day. So for myself, I always spend some of my day engaging in play. And it's not always just because, it's okay for you, Daryl, because that's your vocation now, to play all day. But even the most menial and mundane of tasks, I try to gamify. I try to make them more fun, so I'm more likely to want to do them. Because again, I still have this do I really have to do this? Do I really have to engage in this? But if I can make it a little bit more fun, and I'm actually more productive. It's not undermining my mission to achieve certain goals and objectives. It's actually making me more creative, more productive. I'm thinking of things that I would never have thought about if I just had this single kind of narrow view, macro lens on life. Now I've got this kind of wide angle view of maybe I should try this. Okay, it doesn't work, doesn't matter. No such thing as failure. It's all about education. And certainly all of those statements were just cliches to me at one time. Just about who wants to fail? As if anyone would choose failure, right? But now I kind of understand. You reevaluate what's important. And when you see kids playing, we don't remember as adults how difficult a lot of our childhood play was. We would often choose the most difficult, the riskiest of tasks. We wouldn't want to do the same thing again and again that was easy. It was like, I can already do that. Why would I continue doing this? It's like, okay, I want to climb higher. I want to go further. I want to piggyback carry somebody heavier, right? Dad, can you let me, can you give me permission to do the things that I know you want to say no to, right? Please. That's what you're constantly trying to do. And when you have that attitude as an adult, it's quite refreshing, actually. You don't have to be, you can rebel within the confines of what society tells you is acceptable. And you recognize there are a lot of people who feel the same way, who just need to give themselves permission. And by me creating the Primal Play method, I'm enabling that in some respects. I'm kind of going, hey, it's okay at my age to be doing this. And I wasn't always this way. I wasn't a kindergarten teacher who in education teaching or a clown or did improv theater or something like that. That wasn't my background. I was deadly serious in investment banking, where you got fired for laughing. If you had a smile in your face, it would be challenged and questioned. And to now someone who's like quite fun to be around, who has some joy and zest for life and doesn't take life so seriously, with all of the challenges that obviously come our way. So yeah, there's been quite an evolution of Primal Play, both individually and also in terms of what I want to offer to others to experience something similar.
Awesome. Well, so speaking of that, we're almost out of time, but I don't want to let you go until you let our listeners know where they can go to connect with you, where they can go to learn more all about the Primal Play method.
Yeah, so I mean, if you want a good summary of Primal Play in book form, I have a best-selling book called Animal Moves, which is available at all good and bad bookstores. Pick your poison. Choose your poison in terms of that. I have a website called primalplay.com, where you can look at the research. You can see some example videos and activities that form Primal Play. And I'm all over social media. So I'm known as a fitness explorer on Instagram and Twitter, and I'm very happy to engage with people who want to find out more. So yeah, if you want to read, the Animals Move book is a great place to start. If you want to do some research or interested in that, or you want some examples of things to do, primalplay.com blog. And if you want to engage with me socially on social media, then Instagram and Twitter are probably the best places to find me. That's where I hang out mostly.
Awesome. All right. Well, our guest today has been Daryl Edwards. He's the founder of the Primal Play method. And I hope everyone enjoyed our discussion today. And we hope you join us next time when we discuss another topic related to your good health. Thank you so much, Daryl, for being with us today.
Thanks so much, Brian. You've been a fantastic host. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.